Welcome back, everybody, on a snowy Thursday morning. Hot Mic rolls on. Mentioned on the top of the show, the thriller last night in Grand Forks. Alabama knocks off UND 97-90 in front of a sellout crowd at the Betty Engelstad Sioux Center. Our next guest, if you could have stealthily saw him behind the Alabama bench, Justin Thomas joins us, Grant Nelson's brother, on the show. Last time we chatted, it was you were on your way to Phoenix for the Final Four. A little different environment last night. Give us the lowdown. What was that like inside the building last night?
It was great inside the building. It was a little colder outside the building, but it was warm inside.
The faction of fans we saw, was that it for Alabama? Were there pockets around the arena last night?
It pretty much was. I was talking to my wife, who's a UND graduate, on the way down. I thought, what do you think it'll be? I was like, it'll probably be like 50-50 with, maybe some of the UND fans going to the resale market and cashing in on those tickets. But you got to give them credit. Like it was like seemed like kind of like an NDSU UND game where you had like the away team section was full and they were vocal, but the rest of the crowd was a home crowd and they were into it. So they created a great environment. I even talked to like Alabama's AD who was there last night, and he was really blown away by the hospitality and just how into it the community was and the basketball fans in Grand Forks were.
The lead up to this, we've talked about it since the game got announced in May. For you and your family, how exciting was this to actually have it and see it played out last night?
Oh, it was amazing. To be able to talk to some of the people you talk to on the phone a lot, like with the staff and the coaching staff, and they were all coming up to us and saying hello. And just to be able to have all of us in one place, like the family, kind of felt like I was going to a high school game again, where I felt like I was at my own wedding. I knew about 500 people there and just kind of talking to everybody. But no, just to have all the family there in one place, because it's tough to get to Tuscaloosa, and we're all, we all kind of have our own families now. So we'll get to a game or two, but it's usually, it's not the whole family there. It'll maybe be one or two people at whatever games we make it to. Like we talked about, I went to the game at Purdue, but there was no other family there. It was just kind of me and a friend went down. So to have all of us in one place to see a game so close to home was really special, and got to thank Nate Oates for that.
You sent me a photo. We're going to put it up here before the game of you interacting with Grant. Tell me what that was like.
Oh, it was good. I wasn't really trying to interact with Grant. We were just kind of walking around, and then he was on that side of the court warming up. And if you know the Betty, you can get pretty darn close to the, the players, which is really cool. And we saw each other, so give him a little fist bump and told him good luck, and that was about it.
The excitement level around this game for a while. Tell me about how the game played out, and then seeing it going on last night. Just tell me about that.
Well, I got to give a shout out. I live in Bismarck now. The Bismarck kid, Trayson Eaglestaff. I got a couple funny stories about Trayson. I'm sure he doesn't remember me, nor should he. But his high school basketball coach, Jordan Wilhelm, is a friend of mine, and a guy I've played against in amateur basketball forever since I moved to Bismarck, in 2010. But we would play pickup games on Sundays. He'd get us into the Bismarck High gym, and he'd invite some of the better high school players that he had to play with us old men. And me and Trayson were on the same team, and he stole a pass, and I was up in front and thinking, the way this works is he passes it up to me and I make a layup, and then we go back and play defense. Well, he doesn't pass it to me. And for a split second, I was like, what the heck's going on? Well, then he 1 second later rises up and just throws down a nasty dunk. And I'm like, oh, okay, I wasn't going to do that. So fair play to you. And I remember in 2021 as well, it was his junior year, I believe. State tournament was in Bismarck. They lost a heartbreaker that opening Thursday night to West Fargo. And I went for my morning workout on Friday before work at the YMCA, and Trayson Eaglestaff was in there just drenched in sweat. And that kind of tells you what kind of kid he is. And to see him perform on that stage last night was really special. And, you kind of expected Bama to be able to pull away with that game at some point, and they just never did. And huge credit to UND. They were ready. They got after it, and Eaglestaff with just a great shooting performance.
Yeah,
was awesome to witness.
To have two North Dakota Mr. Basketball winners out there doing that last night, for a North Dakota guy like yourself, was that surreal to see that?
Yeah, it was unbelievable, because I thought Grant played really well.
Yeah,
he was really physical. He's been rebounding the ball great this year. Was really a force when he got downhill. But yeah, just to see him and Eagle staff just trading blows all night was really special. I mean, Alabama's a good team. Obviously, they're highly ranked. Made a Final Four last year. They play against a lot of really gifted offensive players, but they haven't had that kind of trouble with an individual in a long time, really.
Well, Grant said it after the game that Oates yelled at them. I'm
sure he did.
I'm sure they did. I mean, but you look at what I talked about it yesterday when Coach Sather was on the show, Justin. They've played everybody. They played Houston. They played Purdue. They played Illinois. They played North Carolina. They played Creighton. They still have Oklahoma, and they still have their league schedule to go. How much has this battle tested them, and even last night, to get ready for what the SEC is going to be like after the first of the year?
Yeah, I mean, you won't go into a Summit League game and be blown away by anybody's physicality, for sure. They should be ready for anything. And hopefully that game last night, I mean, it's tough at this level of sports to really cling to like moral victories, but that's a moral victory last night. That's hopefully something that they can take and use the rest of the season. It's tough to recreate that in maybe a half full gym on a different night where there's less hoopla around the game. But I mean, if you can kind of put that in a bottle, that level of intensity and physicality and fight, and you got some guys making shots, like I wouldn't want to play him in the Summit League. I know that.
Give me your, I guess, from what you're hearing, how Grant has played and getting ready for SEC play, expectation-wise for the next level. What feedback have you got about where he's at right now?
I mean, the feedback was good last year, kind of a little bit better than it was the year before. Yep. The timing didn't work out great for Grant coming out of last season. He had a couple little nagging injuries that he needed to tend to. So we prioritized that, and he loves it at Alabama, so he came back. This year's draft class is loaded, especially at the top.
Yeah, I
mean, you got probably 4 or 5 guys in this year's draft class that could all be number 1 picks in a lot of drafts in the past. So, but yeah, I mean, he's right in the mix with a lot of guys. It's a competitive job, but yeah, he's right there. I mean, I think he's looking really good. A lot of it kind of depends on how you do at the end of the season. Can you get a little momentum going coming out of March Madness? Do you play well in the scrimmages and in the combine? And we'll see where he goes. He's got a lot of room to improve. So that's kind of the good and the bad is you just got to keep getting better every day. And he's good about the process. So I like his chances.
Well, we talked last year. What did that do for him? The Elite Eight game or the Sweet 16 game, and then the Final Four. What did that do to get him to even more on the radar of the scouts?
I think coming out of NDSU, he got a combine invite.
Yep.
So you're as on the radar as it gets. Every NBA team saw him. I would say, coming out of, playing in the Summit League and just being able to be on the biggest stage and perform like that against, a blue blood like North Carolina, had a great game against UConn. I'm sure. I mean, I don't know this. They don't tell me this, but I'm assuming if you're an NBA team, you like to be able to see the guy do it under that pressure. There's 70-some thousand people watching a basketball game in Phoenix, and you don't shrink in the spotlight. So I think that matters. But as far as him being on the radar of NBA teams, like he's already kind of been there, and they know what he's good at. They know what he needs to work on, and he's just got to keep improving.
On the resume, he now has dunking over a 7-footer. That's okay, right?
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah, dunking over a lottery pick is good. Clingan got the last laugh.
Yeah, he did, but he's what? He's got the poster. He's got that video forever though, man. That was pretty darn good. I know you have family. You got young ones. What's your travel schedule like? Have you planned out a couple trips for January and February?
My wife and I are going to the game at Kentucky.
Nice.
Yeah. We only have to catch one connection to get to Lexington. So I think we got a 7-month-old. I think she'll make the trip. I think the 2-year-old will stay with grandma for that one. It'll be a quick trip, and then I'm flying solo down to the Iron Bowl when they play Auburn in February.
Nice.
Yeah,
okay.
And then that's kind of it for my schedule. We'll see how the rest of the year goes with. I know Devils Lake High School. Hopefully they make state. They'll be in Bismarck this year, so I won't have to travel for that. And then if Bama makes the Sweet 16, I'm guessing I'll I'm guessing I'll book a flight there too. But that's a ways down the road. And I think last night's game, what a perfect, being at those first round games last year in the tournament.
Yep.
Last night's game was like a perfect first round of the tournament, survive and advance type of game.
I got you.
Where you got the underdog, their best players going off. The whole gym turns against you at the end, even though it's supposed to be neutral site. If you're the higher seed and you're struggling, the whole crowd's going to turn against you, and they survive. So good on them.
It's great to see you, bud. Thanks so much for the time. Have a great holiday. I'll talk to you in the new year, okay?
Yeah, happy holidays to you as well. Thanks for having me again.
Good to see you, bud. There he goes. Justin Thomas, Grant Nelson's brother, joining us this morning after the crazy game last night in Grand Forks. Grant goes for 23 points, 10 rebounds in Alabama's win over UND. And they have another Summit League team down the road. Alabama will play South Dakota State on December the 29th. That's Sunday. And then it's on to SEC play. And again, with the expansion of the SEC, that includes Oklahoma and Texas in the mix. And Justin mentioned that game with Kentucky is on Saturday, January the 18th. That's an 11 a.m. tip on ESPN. So there might be some eyeballs up here checking out that game between Alabama and Kentucky. We'll break. We'll come back. We'll wrap up our first hour. Big second hour on tap as well. Back on Hot Mic right after this.